Stops, launches deep. Jalen Guyton, he's got it! Touchdown Chargers! What a throw! 4 seconds left in the game, but this is likely the final play that matters. End zone wide open. What a night for Mike Williams. And the Chargers have their first lead of the night.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of ChargersCast. I'm your host, Kirk Brewer, and ChargersCast is a podcast by fans for fans. With over 40 years of Chargers fan experience, we're here to bring you a unique perspective on our Los Angeles, formerly San Diego, Chargers. We've got a lot to discuss this week, so let's go ahead and get right into it. I am joined again, and these gentlemen are regulars to the podcast, so if you haven't been tuning in, you will get used to them when you do. We've got Andrew Loya from Bolt Casa, and Brennan Isham is back with us from Chargers District. So welcome, gentlemen. We've got a lot to talk about. We've got a ball game from week 6, division game against the Donkeys, and a lot to talk about there. And then we have a Monday night football game in week 7, a road game here in my town against the Arizona Cardinals. So before we get into the Donkeys game, I figured let's go over the standings real quick because those did shift a little bit with this week's activities. The Chiefs were on a bye, so they stay undefeated at 5-0. And we went from 2-2, playing our division rival Broncos, who were 3-2. We got the win, and so we are now in second place at 3-2. They dropped to third place at 3-3, and I couldn't script this any better, but the Raiders are 2-4, pulling up the rear. It couldn't happen to a better franchise. So, and there was some news came out today on the Raiders too. It seems like they're already pulling the plug on their season, maybe trading Davante Adams to Aaron Rodgers' Jets. So Davante Adams is out in Raiders Nation, and he's heading to back east to join Aaron Rodgers to the lowly Jets. But any comments, anything about kind of how this weekend went down and us sitting in second place in the AFC West?
I think it's great that, you know, we're sitting, we took over where Denver was sitting in that position. That's all great and all, but I did want to ask you guys' opinion. What are you guys' thoughts on Davante Adams going to the Jets real quick? Like, what do you think about that? Do you think that that's a huge swing for them, considering what are they sitting at 2-4 now? They dropped that game to the Bills that they really needed to have. My thoughts on that are, I don't see it as such a big win for them. I have a lot of respect for Davante Adams. I've always considered him as one of the best receivers in the NFL. But when I look at their roster and their current situation, I just don't see it as like this X factor on what's going to like propel them into more football games to win, and that's just my thoughts on that. So good for them if that's what they want as an organization, not Aaron Rodgers. Kudos for them, but I just don't think that that's how you're going to go forward as an organization. Maybe they're just looking at is it like this year win now thing, but it's like they got good players. Okay, cool. What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Brennan. I've got some thoughts on this.
So
go first.
My main thing is actually out of it. I think the same thing as you, Andrew. I don't really know what's going to go on with it. I feel like it's not going to make too much of a difference. Like I said, Davante Adams, much respect. Hell of a player. However, I don't know if that's the direction they should have went if they want to win all these football games. I think there's definitely other pieces that could have added on. But my main thing of this is reports came out today that since Davante Adams came in the wide receiver room, they're trying to look to trade a couple of the receivers. And the number one receiver on their trading block right now is our own Mike Dubb. And they did say that the Chargers were interested. So I'm not sure how I feel about that, but considering our weapons, if we took him with a low contract, I think that would be very good just to get in a guy that knows how to do the jump balls. As you know, we'll get onto this later on, but Greg Roman's opening up that offense a little bit, so I think that would be very interesting bringing him back in. But yeah, with Devontae Adams, I think they're going to be a great dynamic like they were in Green Bay, but not sure how much it's going to elevate their team to get to the playoff contenders.
Yeah, and I think that sums up probably the majority of my thoughts on it. Number one, anything that weakens the Raiders, and from a talent perspective, I'll say this weakens the Raiders. From a dysfunction perspective, I would say maybe it makes the Raiders better. Sometimes it's addition by subtraction, and I think he was a disruption to the team because he wasn't happy there. So getting that guy out could improve the team dynamic, but talent-wise, by far, he's super talented. But you still got to have a quarterback to get him the ball, and so that was, part of the issue there with the Raiders. As far as the Jets go, I think and they've got Hackett as their offensive coordinator, even though he got removed from play calling duties. So I think Devontae will be able to get into the system pretty quickly and contribute. Is he the X factor that's going to put them over the top? I think they've got a hill to climb at 2-4. It's still early, a lot of football to be played. They can climb it. So we'll have to take a kind of a wait and see on that part of it. Is this going to put them over the top? They are a talented roster. I just don't think they've been playing up to their talent. One thing I did notice is Rodgers kind of threw Mike Dubb under the bus in his presser yesterday, saying Mike was running the wrong route on that interception. Maybe true. It's possibly true. It's a new offense. Mike's still learning it. He's been out healing his ACL that he got torn here with us.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard anything official. I saw some other profiles on Insta talking about Mike being on the trading block potentially, but I haven't seen anything official yet. But I wouldn't be opposed to bringing Mike back. He definitely can do those jump balls 50-50, stretch the field. He was always a deep threat, especially with those jump balls. I think he and Justin have a chemistry that they could get back even under our new offense. They could get back pretty quickly. It's not going to cost us a whole lot. We're not going to spend a whole lot. So if we can get one of our studs that we were paying almost $30 million for, get him back in the fold, because Mike's a good team guy. He really is a great team player, and I'm sure he would love to come home if he could and be back with the Bolts. If we can get him for the right price, like Jim says, man, competitors welcome. Bring him in and see if he can beat out whoever else is, occupying a spot in the wide receiver room. So that's my thoughts on it. We'll see how it takes shape. But, Amari Cooper, there were 2 trades today. Amari Cooper just got picked up by the Buffalo Bills, and he had been a guy I'd kind of had my eye on here for the last couple of weeks that we might have been able to snatch from the Browns. And I think he would have, again, provided kind of that outside wide receiver 1 deep threat. He's still got, game left in him, but he's off the table now. So we'll see. And then we'll get into this in kind of the next segment here. But, what's going on with DJ Chark? He's in that window now where we can activate him off of IR. We didn't activate him this game. We could have against the Broncos. Where's he at? Because he's the other guy who can get deep and get wide and, out on the outside and take the top off the defense. And as Andrew and I were talking about last week, we need to start doing that. We have to keep these defenses honest. So I would love to see Mike Dubb come back. I've always liked Mike, really have. Man, that would bring an interesting dynamic to our wide receiver, getting him back in the fold. So I don't know. Personally, I think I'll maybe keep my fingers crossed that maybe we can bring Mike back on the right contract. and that he would like to come back, and hopefully he doesn't have any hard feelings that Harbaugh and Ortiz flat out cut him. We don't know what conversations took place behind the scenes when they joined the Bolts. Hopefully it was very professional and stuff. So we'll find out. So what do you say we kind of roll here into week 6? I've got a nice cold one here this week. I've got something a little different. I've got a Kona Brewing Company Fire Rock Pale Ale. I'm typically a lager guy. I'm not much of an ale guy, but this was the one that was ice cold in the fridge. So
they've got a few different flavors, don't they?
They do. The one I usually drink of theirs is I think it's called Longboard. That's a lager.
Yeah, I've had those. Those are good.
Oh yeah, really good. Like I said, I'm not much of an ale guy. Kind of like Sierra Pacific Pale Ale, stuff like that. So we'll see.
Cool. Yeah, I got the still on the sober roller coaster for a little bit. So here in Colorado, the Coors Edge.
Cheers, Rocky Mountain.
Mm-hmm. And I'm rocking the Miller High Life.
And the classic can too.
Yeah,
I love it. Let's get into week 6, okay? Against those donkeys, we got the W. It's 23-16. I missed it by not much. I had us at 24-16. This was not the way I envisioned us getting to a 24-16 score, where we jump out to this 20-0 lead and we're dominating the game. And then it felt like we're holding on for dear life because we can't tackle Bo Nix. And we can get into it when we get more into the game, but the kid put up, what was it? 200. They put up 288 yards of offense in the fourth quarter on us. And Nix had like 44 passing yards up till the fourth quarter. Something stupid. I mean, we were just dominating the game. And then they put up almost 300 yards of offense in the fourth quarter. So that's not how I envisioned getting there. I figured it's going to be a little bit more back and forth. So that wasn't a pleasant way to end it until we got into victory formation. I don't know if you guys want to add anything just kind of general to the outcome of this game before we get into more details as far as who played, who didn't, injuries, and kind of our offensive and defense performances.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think us Charger fans going through many losses from comebacks or those short games, when they started to come back, overall, I think we are already starting to bite our nails, getting Brandon Staley flashbacks. So overall, a big, broad statement. I feel like this is what we're seeing from Harbaugh and Ortiz. Regardless, them coming back, I feel like Brandon Staley or Anthony Lynn would have lost that game. And
Mike McCoy for sure too.
Yep, and knowing Harbaugh having this huge resume, he wasn't going to let that happen. Regardless of Bo Nix and then putting up almost 300 yards in the fourth quarter, I feel like the veteran aspect of our coaching staff wasn't going to let that happen. So that's kind of what a broad area of the whole game and the ending of the game, I thought.
Yeah, I think that's a good take. It's definitely a different era of Chargers history. It's nice to see that we didn't fold in the fourth quarter.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, obviously one of the most concerning things with the second half is not scoring touchdowns since week 1. I did a little question to Money, what do you think about this? And yeah, it's definitely something that we have to figure out. We're obviously not this isn't exactly the full picture when it comes to the offense. We're still waiting to get DJ Shark back. They did a lot of really cool things with misdirections on the offense that I really enjoyed. But just kind of going back to the end of that game, I rewatched it just before we got on the pod, at least as the highlights, and it wasn't nearly as bad as it felt kind of when we were watching it in real time. And I guess what I mean by that is they were scoreless until the fourth quarter, and then in that fourth quarter, yeah, he had some crossing routes that were successful, and then they were nice. But for the most part, he had those crazy scrambles that he's sparky on his feet. He got away, but it was a lot of checkdowns and things like that. We were playing that prevent defense, and it's like anyone who's not a doofus that is an NFL player is going to capitalize. And so they found success doing that, but it wasn't so much like, holy smokes, I'm watching this. Like, the way that it felt watching it in real time kind of felt more like, oh, we're letting them really come back. But when I rewatched it, it didn't kind of look that way. It really looked like we're just bleeding this thing out. And Bolt struck with Duck. Have you guys seen his content? He's a Charger fan. He does YouTube videos. He made a video touching on that, and it was a little more of he was amplifying the idea of like we're reliving this game's going to slip between our fingers. And I'll just say that, like, how it felt to me is, I don't think necessarily Greg Roman doesn't have the utmost confidence in the passing game overall. And I think he just took that approach on offense to bleed the clock. And I don't think it was the worst game plan, because with bleeding the clock, they still marched at us. And if you sit there and kind of take a little bit more chances passing, it's just a little bit more opportunities with time on the clock and opportunities for turnovers. And I think the way that the game played out, I was okay with kind of how it went. And I know, although it would just be nice to put a stamp on it, we need that and want that, but that was kind of my takeaway at the end of the game.
Yeah, and one thing I'll say on that is, you watch it the second time, you're watching it knowing the outcome. And so you don't have the emotion of, oh shit, are they going to come all the way back on us? You're not having flashbacks to Jacksonville Jaguar playoff game, which we threw it too much in that game, which left too much time on the clock. Whereas we didn't do that this game. We're like, okay, we're going to run the clock out on these guys. The problem I have is not that they were able to dink and duck down the field, and they got a couple chunk plays, but they put points on the board. Okay, they put 16 points on the board and 288 yards in that fourth quarter. I'm okay bending and not breaking. We broke a little bit and let them get too close for comfort for me. And by the way, that 95-yard drive where JK pinned them down on the 5, they went 95 yards and scored a touchdown on us. That one kind of got me going, uh-oh. Okay. Oh no. Okay. Okay. Is this a different era, or is it, it's same old? So there were some things I did not like in that fourth quarter. I'm sure Harbaugh and staff will address it. But from a bigger picture, this game and the other two losses, by the way, we went into halftime in those two games. We were up like 10-0 or something, were we not? I mean, I have to go back and double check, but we had first half leads going in to halftime. This one was 20-0. This game, I think, really illustrated what we can be. It's just we're not there. We're still a work in progress. Yeah. And that's probably the message I'd like to send to all those fans who are maybe freaking out more than we might have been, which is we're still a work in progress. But if we can get up 20-0 and shut the opposing team out for 3 quarters, well, we can shut them out for 4. Okay, we just need to keep coming together as a team and gelling. And by the way, we weren't starting all of our number ones from week 1 coming out of training camp. Okay, we had some patchwork going on, and we can go ahead and get into that now. As far as we went into the bye pretty well banged up, and I was pleasantly surprised coming out of the bye who we had coming back and playing. And when I say that, I mean specifically Alton Slater. Okay, those guys are critical, absolutely critical. I think we had pretty high confidence Alt was going to play, but that peck on Slater, it was probably questionable that he was going to play. So bless his heart for roughing it out. It doesn't appear that he maybe re-injured the pec or made it worse, but he was in and out of that game, and we haven't heard why, whether it was the altitude and conditioning or maybe trying to have a rotation so that he didn't re-injure it. Herbert, of course, played with that brace, and he looked no worse for wear, even though they had a couple sacks on us. And then we got Junior Colson back. It was nice to see him back in the rotation there in linebacker. And guys who were still out, Bosa was still out, DJ Chark was still out, a couple new guys who went out, Gus Edwards, who made way for Kamani Vidal, which we can get into him once we start talking sides of the ball. And then Zont. I had no idea that he was that injured. I was really concerned losing him for 4 weeks, but we had some young men step up and play some ball for us. So that was pretty cool. And new injuries or maybe re-injuring, Christian Fulton, he came out late in the game. And Hurst, too. I think Hurst ended up getting hurt in that game. I don't remember if he came back or not, but he was not a factor in the game at all. And I remember seeing him go into the locker room just after Harbaugh went to the locker room. So a lot going on with our roster. Those two rooks, Still and Hart, played pretty good.
Yeah, shout out to Cam Hart and Tarheeb Still. I mean, I'm sure you guys have that play in your head where there was a deep ball and you just see Tarheeb looking at the receiver, watching him down, and shoot, who just did it not too long ago? J.C. Jackson couldn't help himself. One of the highest paid cornerbacks, big game. That dude was shooting us in the foot all the time, making that dumb play. And Tarheeb, as a rookie, being disciplined, and when the receiver, did it right, and it was like, oh, that's so nice to see. Thank you, sir. That was really bright. And then Cam Hart just made some really good technical sound tackles on the outside. You can't ask much from the two young guys. But yeah, it was crazy to kind of see after the game some of the conversations that were going around as far as, with Zont out and then Christian Fulton and then the Eli trade. It's like, what? How bad is this? What the heck is going on? And unfortunately, with the regime, we don't know anything. So we'll take it as it comes.
Yeah, that's a big bummer. I understand why they do it, but it's a bummer for us fans who are going, okay, how bad? What's injured on Christian, and how bad is it going to be that we went out basically Monday morning and started hunting for DBs? We got Eli Apple. We'll see. I mean, he was a number one pick, but he's bounced around a little bit. What are your thoughts on this, Brennan? I mean, the Rooks, they look really good. They played really good.
I have been really high on Tarheeb Still and Cam Hart. After we drafted them, I'm going to be honest, I still didn't really know who they were, so I watched tape, and they were really, really good in college. I think they were a steal, in my opinion. The fact that they were going toe-to-toe with Cortland Sutton, and in their first game and saying, hey, you guys are going to be playing a big role in this game, and they really stepped up. Like Andrew said, that Tarheeb Still play was beautiful. It couldn't have been any better. I did see a stat by Eric Smith on X, and he was pretty much saying Cam Hart played lights out. He had maybe only one catch on him. He had a couple pressures as well, actually, down at the quarterback. So he was doing a lot, and I'm really excited to see. I was really, really, really nervous with Asante Samuel being out, but I kind of think we're seeing the future right in front of us already in week 6. They were playing lights out, and I was really impressed with them. So Asante Samuel is on his last contract year. If he still stays injured and they still keep performing, I see him walking out the door at the end of the season, especially if Cam Hart and Tarheeb Still keep playing the way they do, and if Christian Fulton gets healthy and keeps playing the way he does. I did want to highlight that the Cortland Sutton touchdown. I know we were going to probably get into that eventually, but I was going to say something earlier. Really should have been 23-10, in my opinion. You guys saw in my story, I posted the exact picture where the football was touching the ground, and it couldn't have gotten any more evidence right there. It even showed it in the game. I was like, that was probably one of, not trying to be biased, but probably one of the worst calls I've ever seen. So can't put the corners, the rookies' fault on that, because that was not a touchdown. Other than that, I think they're playing lights out. I think that made their momentum go up a little bit because of that touchdown. But without that touchdown, I think we would have just kept going over to them. But to not get carried away, I think the young cornerbacks and what we got from free agency with depth is really showing now, since all of those injuries are happening. We're still able to win some games.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add, just real quick, is I saw a stat. Both of them played 50-something defensive snaps, so they played a lot. Because let's face it, the Broncos didn't have that many until the fourth quarter. Okay, we dominated time of possession like 2-1. It was crazy. We had just long drive after long drive after long drive, which is just as good as dominating field position, probably better, quite frankly, is dominating time of possession. And so while I had called out that, field position was going to be big in this game, they dominated time of possession to Chargers big time those first three quarters. And I want to say it was like 54 snaps for one of them. I think it was Hart, and like 58 defensive snaps for Tarheeb. So they played a ton of snaps. And I don't remember a single one where it was like, oh, they missed a coverage, like they blew a coverage. There was none of that. We didn't blow any coverages in this game. So our back end of our defense was super solid this game, especially having a couple rooks. I mean, late round rooks too. I mean, these guys aren't second, third round, first rounders. These guys were late round guys. So I agree with Brennan. It looks like, and I know you were high on them coming out of training camp. Both these guys you were super high on. And I think maybe in the long run, I think we'll re-sign Zont. I mean, it's hard to find good DBs, and he's good. I mean, he's really good. I mean, may not be Patrick Surtain, but he's that next rung down. I think he's definitely a ball hawk. But that being said, you can never have enough good DBs. And so those two guys and Christian Fulton staying healthy. Christian's been playing great. He's been a great pickup. Fingers crossed. There's nothing major injury with him. Just kind of my 2 cents on kind of the whole, those young guys, Zont, Christian, the whole defensive back room. Let's see what Eli Apple adds to it. I mean, he's a veteran. He's seen a lot of ball.
There's worse cornerbacks out there,
Yeah, J.C. Jackson. In fact, he's out of football now. He's like out.
Man, that dude's
he got his check. He got his bag of money.
Yeah, just to actually add to the time of possession conversation, I saw something as well. One of our drives where we got a field goal, it took us 10 minutes and 17 seconds. So I think when it comes to owning the time of possession, we definitely killed it regardless. We got points, and we pretty much took almost a whole quarter from one drive. So that exits out of them scoring however many times it was, and didn't give them any opportunity to even get on the field for almost that whole quarter. So I think that was pretty impressive. And one more thing going on, or an earlier thing, I did see something funny on Instagram from a Michigan fan. He did say, get ready, Chargers fans, for as long as Harbaugh will be your coach, you will never hear any specifics on injuries. You will never hear any time of when they will be playing next. He said the whole, however, 8+ years Harbaugh was there, he never heard once of specifics on injuries, and that's just how he is. His saying is he's not a medical professional, so he's not able to speak on it.
Yeah, I'm going to need to get my Harbaugh impression down because I need to get some glasses here. But yeah, I'm not qualified to. Yeah, he's going through something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Two of my favorite stat lines from the game: third down efficiency. Holy smokes, we knocked it out of the park compared to how we've been performing. We
Yeah.
went 11 for 18.
Yeah. It's like
You know,
62%.
yeah, we
And by the way, I'll add that was way better stat until the fourth quarter.
yeah.
It was way better. It was like 75% or 80%. We were killing it.
Yeah, and I mean the Broncos, they went 3 for 11. And then the other stat that I want to add here, my second favorite stat is holding Javonte Williams to 23 yards. Their leading rusher was Bo Nix with 61.
Yeah.
And
And that was all fourth quarter.
I'm not too bummed about that. I love the idea that when it came to the running game, we freaking stuck it to him. We put a plug in it, and I think that that's super rad. I think Bo Nix just had some clever, bonkers ways of getting out of the pocket, and I think some of that had to do with here's how I want to lay this out. When you think about the Chiefs game and how we prepared for having support with that outside, those stunts, I think it was a little different in this game because I think we had the young bucks back there, so we had to give them support, and I just think things were a little bit different. And it's like that approach at the end is like, we're gonna let you bleed this last quarter out. The idea is we come home with a win, and it could have been better, but anyways, those are the two stats that I loved in this game.
All right, I'll throw one more out, and then we'll need to move on here. But JK, if I'm not mistaken, didn't punt until the end of the third quarter. It was his first punt in the game, which is crazy, awesome. Again, time of possession, long drives, and putting points on the board. Incredible, absolutely incredible. I remember sitting there and it's like his first punt. And I'm like, holy smokes. So he didn't get much work, which is awesome. And then, we absolutely shut him down that first part of basically first three quarters, both run and pass. Our defense, they're looking good, man. They continue to come together, and in this case, we had some guys out, and next man up. So, it bodes well. It bodes well as long as we can keep things rolling.
We have the number one EPA scoring defense in the league, guys.
Yeah, still.
Yep.
And let's face it, when it's all said and done, turnovers, which by the way, we won the turnover battle. That was going to be critical for us, and we did. Time of possession, all of these things. At the end of the day, none of that matters except the score. Right? So if we are holding our opponents to these, what was the number? It was like 13 and change points per game after this game. We know the stat coming into this season with Justin, which was he won an inordinate, crazy high percentage of his games as long as we kept our opponent under 20 points. Now, Harbaugh and Giro haven't been turning Justin loose for 40 passes a game, so it's a little bit different dynamic there, but it's still a work in progress, and I like the direction we're heading. So let's get into some nuts and bolts here on this game. And by the way, real quick, as we're talking player health and injuries and kind of guys who stepped in, just like to say, I think everything's good. I think I heard Harbaugh went and saw a cardiologist today, and he was dead on what his issue was. But shout out to Coach. I think we all saw Coach go into the blue tent and then go in the locker room early in the first quarter. And if you guys are like me, you're like, oh shit, this isn't. He has to go to the restroom. There's something wrong. But he came back out pretty quickly, and it's like, okay, and he looked good. So whatever it was, they were able to get it under control. And it turns out he's we all get older, and he's got a little arrhythmia with his heart where it gets out of whack, and it's not following the normal pattern, and he was able to sense it. But shout out to Coach. I loved his quote after the game, which is, my heart's going to have to stop completely to keep me off the sidelines. We love our coach, man. It was awesome. I hope he's doing good. And if he needs to get a procedure done, he says he might need to get something done, but get it taken care of so that he's there for the long haul. But shout out to Coach. He's our guy, man. Let's get into this game a little bit. Let's go ahead and start with offense. Our defense, there's a lot to talk about there, and we're running a little bit longer, but man, there's a lot to unpack offensively because Giro opened up the offense a little bit. We had more passing plays than we had running plays. We had more passing yards than we had rushing yards. But I would say it still felt balanced to me, even though the pass outweighed the run a little bit. Justin had 237 yards passing. JK had almost 100 yards on 25 attempts. And total between Justin and Kamani, Double D, and JK, we had 128 total rushing yards. So nothing to write home about, but that's the kind of rushing production that keeps defenses honest so that the whole field is available for the passing as well. So pretty good performance. And by the way, we had our starting stud tackles back, which is huge to the overall performance of our offense, but we were clicking. I mean, we put up 20 points in the first half.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to highlight real quick with that offense was that Simi Fehoko catch was an absolute beauty. It was probably one of the coolest Charger catches I have seen in a while, not counting like a Mike Williams catch. That was beautiful. I don't think it could gone any better than that. And the fact that the dude is not even probably maybe wide receiver 3, and he was able to make that catch, and Justin perfectly throwing in the breadbasket. That was beautiful. But overall, I think
clutch, Brennan, too, by the way, the timing of that. That was third down and long, if I am not mistaken. That was third down and long. So not only was it a seriously awesome catch, but it was clutch. The timing, we needed that catch. That was huge.
Yep. Yeah, and I liked seeing all the wide receivers getting action. Ladd McConkey, Quinn Johnston was very active in the beginning. Also, Joshua Palmer made that really good, like 20-plus yard reception that helped us get down the field. I liked seeing him evolved again and, showing his skills. And overall, I liked the offense. I think it was running well. I think Giro is finally starting to open up, and that's just the splinter of what he has in his belt. So I think it's going to be very exciting to see how he keeps developing this offense. JK feels really good to have a running back like that. Man, he gives me a lot of, I don't want to compare him to different people, but he gives me a lot of Le'Veon Bell vibes. When he's in the right in the back, he kind of shifts and he's like, oh, I'm not going to go this way. I'm going to go this way. And he kind of lets the play develop before he kind of picks a hole or where he's going to go. And then he bursts for like 8 or 9 yards pretty much every time. So I think that's really impressive. Kamani Vidal, I'm sure we're going to talk about that. Beautiful catch. I think he really was used correctly. If we were just going to put him up the gun every single time, I don't think that was going to work out. So them using him in the passing and the run game, I think complemented it really well. So I was pretty impressed compared to our other performances on offense. This was a much better outing for us.
Yeah, this is definitely a step in the right direction. Herbert really put that throw on a rope. That was a really nice throw to Kamani. And you could almost say even a better catch. It was a tremendous effort from both players, and that's what it takes, to make a difference in this league. And so I was super happy about that. And then the other thing that I noticed was, Herbert's able to do a little bit more. He's able to go under center now that he's got a little. He certainly doesn't have any mobility, because I don't know if that's one thing you guys have noticed. Yeah, he can go under center, and that definitely helped our offense, having different formations and sets. Thank goodness we're starting to get that back. But there was also moments where I'm like, this could have been a way better performance on the offense. There's so many opportunities where it's like Herbert could have ran right there, but he just can't right now. And you can tell he can't. He's not really thinking about running. He's kind of hopping through the reads longer and longer. And, but it's like if that's a spot where he can eventually run, which it will happen as he gets healthier, it's going to be a lot better than what it is right now, which this is the most balanced I think we really looked. The offense looked great, but this isn't the full picture like we kind of touched on earlier. I think we're still missing the DJ Shark aspect, but it's certainly something that hopefully we get back sooner than later. Coach is quoted, you don't win football games in the first quarter and you don't win them in the second half. So, we definitely it'll be exciting to see just kind of how this whole thing kind of works out as we keep going.
Yeah. To piggyback on you, Brennan, JK he's a really good running back. I didn't know a lot about him when we brought him over, but getting to watch him now for, 5 games, yeah, there's a little bit of Le'Veon Bell, not quite as pronounced. Le'Veon Bell would literally sit there. It seemed like forever and just wait for a hole to open up. But JK's got that. But he's got incredible vision. Incredible vision. You remember, I think we've all had this, where we're sitting at home watching the TV and there's a running play that's set to go to a particular hole, and the running back gets the ball, runs to the hole, hits the back of an offensive lineman, or gets stuffed by a linebacker, and there's 0 yards or negative yards. There was a particular play this week, and we've seen it multiple times, where he can see out of his peripheral vision, it's opening up over here. It's supposed to go here, and he jump cuts, and he's got all this room to pick up 7, 8, 9 yards. His vision is incredible, and he's got a jump cut that is really, really good, that the defenses are having a problem with. Let's hope he stays really healthy. He's special. He's really good running back. And he's got the patience. He doesn't just blindly run into the hole. He literally will wait for the hole to open up, and he doesn't need a big hole. So, I really am excited that we've got him on the team. Now, we've got him on one of those prove-it, contracts for this year. But I suspect if he continues to be the guy he's going to be, he's not getting to the offseason on that contract. Ortiz is going to up him before we even get to the end of the season, I suspect, because you can't let a guy with that talent get away as long as he can stay healthy for the whole season. Let's jump into, let's see, what else do we have on the offense side of the ball? Time of possession was killer. Andrew, you already mentioned third down conversions. We killed it those first 3 quarters. And we've already talked about this. I just didn't like that fourth quarter. It seemed that letdown, but we are a work in progress. If we can do it for 2 quarters, like we've shown in previous games, and then we had to let down the whole second half, now we kind of did it for 3 quarters. We can do it for 4. We just gotta, we gotta keep striving towards that. So, anybody got anything else to add on the offense side of the ball? Otherwise, let's roll over to the defense.
I'll just say that we know that what we look like without those 2 tackles and what we look like when we have them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a reason they are who they are, and we're going to be paying those guys some big bucks for years to come.
Shout out to my best friend who was we both were pretty big fans of Malik Neighbors, but he texted me after the game and he goes, "You think that Joe Alt pick was the right pick?" And I said, "Oh yeah." And so shout out to him. I think that this is the writing's right on the wall there with our tackles.
Well, and especially when you put it in overall context too, of Harbaugh and Ortiz and the team they want to build, hands down, Joe Alt was the right pick. Maybe for another team, he would have been a really good pick, but maybe not the right pick. But for us, yeah, how many years can we go with Slater and Alt on both sides of that line? we're going to have some really happy fans for a really long time. That equates to wins, okay? Dominating the trenches equates to wins. So we should be ecstatic that we've got those two studs. And Zion's coming along. He's coming along. So the other two positions, just hold down the fort for a little while.
That's right.
A couple more draft picks. Let's roll over to defense. Man, these guys, they're playing good, man. All 4 weeks, quite frankly. They've had a lapse here or there, but they were shutting these guys out. I do not have the stats. Maybe one of you guys have the stats, but it was something crazy. It was like their offense for the first half was stupid. I think Bo Nix had a 0 quarterback rating through the first half, if I'm not mistaken, literally a 0.0. It was just stupid. We were dominating. Maybe they had like 44 yards total offense in the first half, something stupid like that, or maybe it was 88, but I remember like 44 or 88. It was just a dominant performance, and that's without Zahn. That's with 2 rookies starting. That's without Joey Bosa. Who else were we missing? Well, Colson Jr. was back. Derwin was back. These guys. It's scary to think that Jesse Mentor can get these guys, maybe even performing and executing at an even higher level than they already are. But if he can, the rest of the NFL should look out, because it's going to be scary.
Yeah, that's the thing too, is Jesse doesn't exactly have the players that actually fit his scheme. Going back to the Michigan regime, that's kind of their thing, is they bring a heavy overload on the front, and then they rely on stars playing man out there on an island. And he's able to find the strengths in these guys' unique abilities, and it's awesome to see. So hopefully we get him for at least a couple more years. That'd be wonderful.
Yeah, that's the sad thing about the NFL, is right. You get one of these coordinators or assistants that is really, really good, and another team comes along and plucks them to be a head coach, and you don't want to hold them back from attaining what may be a lifelong goal. But hopefully at least we can keep Jesse for a couple years at least. And by the way, speaking of Michigan, completely unrelated, completely out of left field, but shout out to Aiden Hutchinson, dude. Absolutely brutal leg injury. Talk about having that defensive stud. He's from Michigan, right? He's a Michigan boy, and playing for his hometown team, by the way. How awesome is that? I don't know a lot about him, but everything I've heard and seen, he's a stand-up dude. NFL, even though it's a softer, kinder, gentler NFL these days, and we tease about it maybe being flag football, it's still a rough sport. And so I understand he went straight into surgery in Dallas. He didn't even fly home. So shout out to that guy. He's awesome. Love to see him back. Just don't play good when you play the Chargers. That's all I got to say. Otherwise, come back healthy. Guy on the Niners did that. Not Navarro. Who was the other guy who played next to Navarro? No, it was Navarro. It was Navarro who had that brutal leg injury, and he came back from it. So, sounds like it's not going to be career ending, but I just wanted to acknowledge that was pretty tough. We already talked about our rooks, DBs, really stepping up for our D. Joey's nowhere to be found. I don't know if I'm really ready to go into a Joey segment at this point, but thank goodness we got Bud Dupree. That's all I got to say. And Bud, Derwin, and Khalil, you guys now have tape on Bo Nix. All right. Yeah. He was a rookie. You really didn't have a lot of tape on him coming into this game. You now got tape on him with him juking you guys out of sacks. Okay. So no more of that. You guys got to contain the guy. You're probably going to be seeing this kid for years to come. So I'm just telling you. So learn your lesson. That fourth quarter, 288 yards, I won't see that anymore. What else you guys got on our defense?
So I wanted to highlight a player. I think he's the most underrated pickup we got this year. And he's the most underrated player on our defense right now. He goes by the name of Elijah Molden. That guy
Elijah,
is
I thought you might have been going Puna. Okay.
no, yeah, that guy is a stud in my opinion. I'm not saying like he's he's on Derwin's level, but the expectations I have, being from the East Coast, I have a lot of Tennessee friends, and I'm only 4 hours from Nashville, so I know a good amount of Tennessee fans, and they were always bashing me, saying he's not good. Christian Fulton's not good. They will disappoint, and I just wanted to highlight. Elijah Molden already has 2 interceptions. His vision, I think, is really good on the field. Seeing him make those plays compared to when I watched him and I watched some clips on Tennessee, I think he's going to be shaping up to be a really good depth piece for us. And the reason why I say he's the most underrated player for us, because I feel like in the broad stand of Charger fans, he's kind of just there to add a little more depth. But he has 2 interceptions already. He's contributing a lot. He was kind of taking over when Derwin was gone. I think he kind of filled that void a little bit just for the time being. So if Alohi or Derwin James get injured, I don't have any doubt in my mind that he's going to perform well. So I just wanted to highlight him. But like you just mentioned, Puna, he's also one of probably number 2 up there. And then number 3, I say Tier Tart. He was really good too. Those interior linemen are really good.
Top 3?
That's my top 3. I don't know. I don't know why I just went there, but I guess that's what I wanted to highlight. I want to give the credit where credit's due with some of these players, because if you think about the Chargers, only people talk about the Joeys, Khalils, Derwin James, and Justin Herbert. These guys that are contributing more than people think, I just wanted to highlight because they're adding the depth pieces that we needed. And they're leaning to some big turnovers as well that I feel like some of those other guys weren't able to do. And like you were saying earlier, turnovers is a big deal for that defense so we can get the ball back. So I just wanted to show them a little appreciation because they're stepping up more than I thought they would.
Yeah, maybe Tennessee, you guys were the problem, and maybe not Molden and Fulton, because, we're going into week 7, and these guys are looking pretty good. So maybe you guys are the problem.
Exactly.
Two things. Scheme, right? Everybody's raved about Jesse Minter's scheme. So scheme number 1. And then luck with injuries, right? Christian Fulton had a history of injuries. J.K. Dobbins he's on the offensive side of the ball. But I appreciate you bringing that up because you know what? If you want to stop and kind of go through the free agent additions we've made to this team, how about a shout out to Joe Ortiz? He's done a tremendous job of bringing in. They always used to say defenses win championships. Depth wins championships these days. It's with a 17-game, 18-week schedule. And quite frankly, they should probably put in another bye, especially if they go to 18 games. They definitely need to do 2 byes. But it's a war of attrition. And I was thinking about this today. I'm like, man, you almost need 2 teams. You literally need 2 quality, like starter quality teams to be able to get through an entire season. And so, yeah, depth wins championships. And you need depth that, the old next man up. And we are seeing it early in the season. And, JK's been just a blessing at running back. But Tier Tart, Puna Ford, Molden, Christian Fulton, Gus Edwards. We've got a lot of guys on this team that are contributing role players that without those guys, we're not sitting at 3-2 even. Literally. These guys are contributing to W's. So, big shout out to Joe and all of these guys. And guess what? The new guy, Eli Apple, a couple weeks from now, we could be sitting there going, holy crap, that was the greatest signing since sliced bread. This guy's coming to mentor scheme, and he's killing it. You don't know. So, or we could be saying, thank God we got Mike Williams back. You just don't know. You just don't know. Let's see. As far as my notes go, 88 yards it was. 88 yards we allowed total Denver's offense first three quarters. And then 288 yards the fourth quarter. So our defense was absolutely killing it. Why can't we do that for four quarters? I think we can. I think it's scary to think what this defense can become. I think they're still coming together too. It's not just our offense. So anything you guys want to add to the defense? I mean, we still got to go over next week's opponent.
Yep, still got to get into the Cardinals. No, I just want to say cheers, guys. It's our first win in Denver since, I think, 2018, and I have been so frustrated with splitting with them, and we finally got it done, and it speaks volume to everything that we, I think, believed in with Harbaugh coming in here. So that is just awesome. Yeah.
Anytime we can win on a division rival's turf is a beautiful thing.
Sure. I wanted to highlight too. I was, especially with me posting a couple of those funny videos against the Donkeys, I was getting a lot of DMs and a lot of comments saying, a lot of hate saying you're not gonna be saying that, and getting a lot of hateful comments saying you guys aren't good, the Broncos are gonna kill you. And I just want to say, who is laughing now? It's who's got it better than us. So
who has it better than us?
Nobody. So I just wanted to say it felt really nice getting that win, and our team putting everything together. It was really, really cool to see.
Yeah, they had it coming. You know, they had to finally beat the Raiders. Well, we finally beat you guys. Yeah. And my prediction so far, 100% going into the season, I kind of had us losing the game to Kansas City and to Pittsburgh, but I said we were going to finally close out the two division games between the Raiders and the Broncos. So, but I also have us winning the Cardinals game. So I'm ready to get into that when you are.
Awesome. Real quick, special teams. We haven't talked about special teams. They held up their end of the bargain this game. Field position battle, big time. JK pinned him back a couple times. Really nice punts. You know, he had a couple games where he wasn't really on his game, but he showed up this week. I mean, he only had to punt. I have to go look at the statistics, probably 3 or 4 times. And his first punt, like I said, was like at the end of the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter. Double D did his stuff, took care of business, you know, didn't muff anything, you know, had a couple decent returns, and, you know, Dicker's Dicker, you know, he made his extra points and he made his kicks, nothing special, nothing super long, but, you know, this day and age, it's like, hey man, I just watched the Jets kicker miss 2 field goals last night. So, cost him the damn game. And by the way, I was going to mention real quick too, when we were talking about the offense, and then we'll head into the Cardinals game. Lad McConkey, Ben Herbert should become his second best friend. His first best friend has to be Sanjay Lal, his wide receivers coach, but his second best friend really needs to become Ben Herbert. He's getting beat up by these DBs jumping on him when he goes down, and you can see he got hurt this week. Not so much it kept him out of the game, but he's probably really sore today. Like, he's probably cold bath, hot bath, and massages. He needs to put on another 10 pounds of muscle. He needs to get with Ben Herbert and really add just that extra level of NFL caliber durableness, I think. He's a little frail, especially when he goes to the ground and these DBs are jumping on him. Just my 2 cents. But he's got a stud in Ben Herbert who can make him less breakable. I'll be interested to see how luckily you've got an extra day going into Monday's game. That's a good segue, by the way. I didn't plan it this way, but he's got an extra day to recover. You guys saw him, right? I mean, he went in a blue tent. Okay.
Yeah.
He got pounced on in this kind of kidney area, and he was in excruciating pain for a while. So hopefully nothing major, but I'd like to see him kind of add a few extra pounds of muscle to last a 17-game season with NFL DBs that are going to be jumping on him every chance they get to try and knock him out of the game. So Monday Night Football, Chargers, primetime in Arizona against the Cardinals with the midget quarterback, Kyler Murray. They beat San Francisco last week, and then this week, I didn't watch the Cardinals game. Who are they playing?
They got thumped on by the Packers, and I mean thumped on.
Right. That's right.
Pretty bad.
So there's two ways we can look at that. Is they're thumpable, or they're going to be pissed, and they don't want that to happen on primetime on their home turf. They're my local team. I live in the Phoenix metropolitan area. I don't live anywhere near this stadium. It's like I might as well go to Las Vegas. If I'm going to drive to the Cardinal Stadium, I might as well keep going and go to Vegas. It's that far away, it seems. But they're here in my hometown. I don't follow them that closely ever since Kurt Warner and those guys all disappeared. But they have some talent on this team. I've looked at the roster. There's some talent there. Kyler Murray can be hot and cold. Generally speaking, maybe let's start high level. Again, Chargers roster and the health. Jim's going to make it tough on us to kind of head into these games midweek and even have a clue what our roster is going to look like. Like Christian Fulton, where's he at? Is he starting? Or are rookies, going to be filling the void there? Where's Joey Bosa at? It looks like Slater and Alt are good to go. Justin looks like he came out of the game pretty good. Are we going to get DJ Chark this week? So real quick, your guys' overall thoughts, what you're kind of vibing as far as what our roster's looking like heading into this week. Maybe we get a few more players back. Maybe we get Joey back.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to really think when it comes to our roster because I don't know what the heck happened to Christian Fulton, and the news just makes it kind of confusing. So I guess we'll just kind of see what happens, but it'd be nice to see Joey. But I also don't know. I don't quite understand the 21-day window either when it comes to Shark. So I guess we can't really expect him for this game. But yeah, I mean, as far as our roster goes, to me, I don't know, guys. But I see a team that when the going got tough, I had some money on my parlays when it came to Kyler Murray, and I was watching him. And when the going got tough, when I say this, I do mean this with respect. I just think I saw a player who kind of quit. I saw, and what I mean by that is there were moments where he's reading the field, and they're getting beat bad. They had a lot of turnovers. Instead of trying to make something happen, you could see his facial expressions and the body language. Throw the ball away, pouting. There was a read option play where he kept it and took it to the left side and just got smushed. And he's throwing his hands up, and you can see him kind of verbally chatting at whoever. But it's like, you pulled the ball, man. Regardless how the play, it didn't work out. But who are you yelling at, dude? It was just a bad play, you guys. So I see a team that if we bring that mentality that we have been, and we play as good as football as we know we can, just like I thought coming, in the offseason, this is a game we can win for sure.
Yeah, I've seen him quit. There was this 2 seasons ago. I want to say it was his third year, and the Cardinals were killing it. They were like the last undefeated team in the league. I mean, they were on fire. And then they absolute laid an egg the second half of the season, didn't even make the playoffs. And then in the offseason, this guy's a third year, on his rookie contract, and he's demanding that he gets a second contract. He didn't want to wait till his fourth season like everybody else does. He deserved it in his third season. And the Cardinals caved and gave it to him, by the way.
And to add to that, real quick, wasn't he the one that they put in his contract? Gosh, I hope I'm just not reading into the paper too much. But it said, like, he needed to, like, read his playbook, too. Do you guys remember that by chance?
I remember hearing something about that.
I was like, what?
Yeah. I don't know if that's real.
Or what the heck that is. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. The one thing I can say about him, though, and I'll relate this back to the last week's game, we do have to keep him in the pocket. Okay, you have to – I would rather not get sacks and keep him contained in the pocket because he does have wheels and he can break down a defense with his legs. That's one area that we just forget getting the sacks. Just keep him in the pocket, keep the pressure on him, keep him scrambling within a very small geographic area and make him beat you with his arm. He's got talent. There's a reason he was a first – number one pick and the whole bit. But, I think health of our team, it looks like we've got our tackles. Herbert's good to go. Those are the big ticket items as far as health going into the game. As far as high-level keys to this game, for me, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but turnovers, I think they're susceptible to turnovers. And you said the Packers were turning them over like crazy. And then I'm going to go back to field position again. If we can make our opponents go a long field and we can get short fields, those to me are going to be really important, big ticket keys to the game for us. And then heading into, let's go ahead and talk offense. For me, we need to protect Justin, and that's all going to always be the case. So I almost I'll just maybe put that on the screen and just leave it there permanently. We have to protect Justin. That's why we have Slater and we have Alt. But while he's hurt in particular, we need him to continue to heal. We can't have him have setbacks. So we got to protect Justin. The running game for us is critical, even if we don't go off for 200 yards, but as long as we can run the ball productively, that opens it up for Justin to do what he's going to do. And then stay balanced. And if we get DJ back, then maybe take the top off the defense a couple times. You see, they did try that, Andrew. They did try once with Ladd. They ran a deep route with Ladd. We didn't hit it, but at least we tried it, which was really important. And then second half execution. We have to execute in the second half. I don't know how for me, it's always been weird. If you can do it in the first half, why can't you do it in the second half? And it's not just us. I've seen it every team in the league, year in and year out. You have these teams, they have a great first half. And of course, the other team's adjusting during halftime. But are they really adjusting that much? I think it's more of a mental attitude. Why can't you come out in the second half and completely forget that there was a first half and play exactly like it's the opening kickoff and it's 0-0 and your life depends on winning this game? And so I think we need to come into the second half with that same mentality. We can do it. We've shown we can do it. So that's going to be critical to me as well, is that we don't have a letdown in the second half of this game. Those are my kind of big ticket keys to the game, especially on offense. What are you guys seeing against these guys? You guys may have been following a little closer than I have.
One thing I wanted to say before I get into the overall game, Nick Neiman, he really good tackler for us. I think he's a really good special teamer. He's been injured for most of the season. They opened up his window. I'm pretty sure he played. Don't quote me. I'm not sure if he did. But regardless, he's back, and I think that adds some good depth to the special teams and defense because he's always been a consistent tackler for us. So that's another guy that we got back that I think's pretty good for the depth. But as overall in the game, I think Andrew hit it on the nail on the head. Like, Kyler Murray will give up and get frustrated when things go downhill and it happens quick. I've seen multiple multiple games where he's just blatantly given up. Seems like, I don't know if it's just in his head, but he's just, once the going gets tough, it gets way tougher for him. And I feel like if we can get an early edge like we did with the Broncos, I don't see them, knock on wood, I don't see them coming back. I think if we give it to them early on, open up that passing game and not let him rush and get some good sacks on him, I think we will be able to take this game pretty easily. One thing I do want to highlight as on their offense, James Conner, he is a touchdown machine. Regardless on his yards, his red zone, whether it's catching or running it right up the gut, that's one person we're going to have to look out on. Our interior D linemen, I have no doubt in my mind that they're going to execute. But that's one person I feel like we kind of have to make sure we probably the biggest weapon on their offense, I would say, that has a threat to our specific team. So if we can not let Kyler Murray rush, like Kirk said, and keep James Conner under wraps, I think we're going to be able to do some good damage to the Cardinals come Monday Night Football.
Yeah, James Conner has done nothing but improved his career since he left Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
He has really good this year, guys. And Marvin Harrison Jr. from last week, I think, is in some type of concussion protocol.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's going to be back or not. But regardless, one thing that our coaches know, and getting to know Michigan a little better, Jesse Minter and Jim Harbaugh, there's been articles written and in interviewing them. They have studied this kid very thoroughly. And so if he's back, I think they're going to have a pretty good idea on how to deal with him, because when it came to the rivalry between Michigan and Ohio State, it's not something that is unfamiliar to them. But, man, I just needed 25 yards from Kyler Murray to win some money last weekend. So I was tuned in on the guy. I'm tuned in on Murray. And, like, going back to my point earlier, I'm watching him. And where I see a situation where Lamar Jackson's, like, freaking gaming his butt off, I'm like, okay, you can run right here. And he wouldn't. It was almost like he's like, it's not worth it because I could get hurt. I'm going to throw the ball away. So, yeah, that's just one quick thing I wanted to touch on, is that let's just come with our helmets strapped up and let's smack these guys around.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm probably giving the odds 30-70 that Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to play this week. They do have an extra day, since it's being a Monday night game. So maybe he will recover. He's a young guy, so I suspect maybe he recovers a little quicker. But it looked like he got his bell rung pretty good in the highlights I saw, where he tried to get up and he literally fell back down to the ground. So, he got his bell rung. And as far as keys to the game on the defensive side of the ball, we've got to contain the run. It all starts there, right? Again, you guys are going to get tired of hearing me say this, and I don't mean just you guys. I mean you guys, anybody who's going to follow the pod. I'm a huge proponent, and this is why I was really huge of Harbaugh coming in and starting to run our team. I am a huge proponent. You build from the inside out, and you build from the trenches, and that's on both sides of the ball. Football's not a difficult game, okay? Dominate the line of scrimmage, right? Just dominate the line of scrimmage and go from there as the game goes outwards, whether it's, then you take on the running game, then you take on the passing game, and then wide outs and all that. So stop the run, keep James Conner in check. Hopefully we don't let him get any short yardage goal to goes so that he can't be Mr. Touchdown Machine, because he's been very productive down there in those short yardage situations. So keep him in check. Don't let him run wild on us. And then keep Kyler Murray in the pocket. Don't let him escape the pocket. Make him beat us with his arm. And like I said, from an overall standpoint, field position and, turnover battle. Anytime you get an extra possession or two on your opponent, especially if you score with them, that's always a plus. It gives you a couple more possessions than your opponent's got. So That's what I'm going into this game with is and I think I'd have to go look this up. Yeah, you guys are more stats guys than I am, but I think we've won the turnover battle every game.
That's
and maybe one game it was a tie.
Off the top of my head, but I mean, that seems.
Yeah, I think there's one game where it's 2-2, but every other game I think we've won the turnover battle because our defense has really been opportunistic. So, just kind of keep on keeping on as far as our defense goes, and let's see if our offense can build on what they did this week against the Broncos.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I agree.
Special teams. Keep doing what you're doing, guys.
Yeah.
And the unsung heroes of that, which I'd like to mention, is the coverage units. Keep doing what you're doing on coverage. Keep no big plays on coverage. Keep those guys if Dicker's mostly been kicking it through the end zone, but on those few occasions where they do get a run back, keep them 35-yard line or less. Don't let them get out to midfield or any of that. And I consider that a success on special teams as well. Take the points when we got them. If it's a field goal, take it. Seems like Jim's big on that, taking the points. I'm not opposed to that most of the time. Once in a while, you got to go for it. But I think Staley was a little full of himself or whatever, getting a little crazy.
A little trigger happy, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's just went for it maybe a little bit more. Sometimes you just take the 3. It's the NFL, man. Most of the time, games are won in the fourth quarter by one possession. You got 3 points, take the 3 points. Take the 3 points. I mean, how many times have we watched games where they'll kick a field goal and there was a penalty on the defense and they take the points off the board to try and score a touchdown, right? It's just take the points, So that's all I've got, man. We covered a lot in this pod. There's a lot to cover. Our boys are back playing. It was a successful game against Denver, and we're going primetime this week. Not sure if I will be at this game. I don't currently have tickets. This may sound kind of cheesy, but over my years of being a football fan, I've gotten to the point where I realize I actually get better seats when I'm in front of my TV in 4K, and most of the time the cameraman is giving me awesome shots and I've got replay at my fingertips where I can literally replay everything. And so those times where I do go and experience the full in the stadium game, I leave disappointed because I don't get the good replays, I don't get the good shots, and I paid hundreds and hundreds of dollars for warm beer and stale hot dogs. So I may not end up going to this one live, even though it'd be nice to see Jim and Herbert and the crew hopefully pull out a win. So I'll let you know. You guys will see on my Instagram if I go live. I'll get some stuff posted there. But
awesome.
Yeah. And it's a haul for me too. It's a good hour and 20-minute drive to their stadium. So any last points you want to add as we wrap this one up?
Just want to say, pretty excited. First primetime game of the season. I think we're going to kill them. I really think we're starting to really find what team we are, really establishing what team we're going to become. And I'm really excited every single game. I did want to highlight one thing real quick. Our next couple games are... There's a good chance we can win the next 5 games. We play the Cardinals, not in particular order, but we play the Cardinals, the Saints, the Bengals, and I think 2 other teams where it's definitely winnable. And I'm very excited to see what we can do because I think we have a very good chance in the next 5 games to become 8-2, and that for the Chargers. I'm not going to try to get ahead of myself, but I'm very optimistic. I'm excited and interested to see what we're going to do next couple games, especially since we're getting better game after game.
Eventually getting a bona fide X receiver, that's going to be helpful. And then I can't speak to how important it's going to be as Justin Herbert slowly gets his mobility back, just considering, like, obviously Giro's offense this isn't going to be the Ravens, but I do think that he has something in store. Justin already does do that anyway. So when he gets his mobility back, I just kept looking at that Broncos game going, man, if that dude could just run right now, there'd be so many easy first downs with these tackles and the way that they're handling things. So, yeah, with this stretch, I just hope that I'm excited to see Herbert's health come and we see a little bit of mobility out of him.
Yeah, it adds a whole nother dynamic, and again, it's one of those things. Keep the defense honest, right? If you've got a mobile quarterback, a couple runs a game where picks up that critical first down, it just when they go back on tape, they're like, okay, yeah, don't forget this guy can run. We don't need him to be Lamar.
Right.
We just need him to be Justin, and Justin's got really good wheels on him. So, and Brennan, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but this next stretch is the Cardinals, the Saints, the Browns, the Titans, and then the Bengals.
Yeah.
All those teams have losing records.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to say this till I sound like a broken record, but on any given Sunday, this is the NFL, and the other team's getting paid big bucks too, and they're the cream of the crop coming out of college, right? I mean, they've got a roster of players, so you still have to come prepared and bring your game. This is another reason why, I'm a big fan of Harbaugh. Harbaugh doesn't typically let his teams have letdown games. And so he'll have them up every week, regardless of the opponent, presumably because he's Harbaugh. But yeah, and by the way, after the Cardinals, and it goes in that order: Cardinals, Saints, Browns, Titans, Cincinnati. Of those teams, the one that I see is the most dangerous is Cincinnati. They've notoriously started slow, and then they come on at the tail end of the season. But I will just add, Derek Carr's out.
Spencer Rattler.
We may not have Derek Carr. We may have Spencer Rattler. They started Spencer Rattler, the rookie, this weekend. And I guess he had a fair showing for a rook. But we may get Spencer Rattler in that game, which you start sending Khalil Mack and Tooley and Bud Dupree and maybe Joey Bosa at him. Yeah, that's a little bit different story than, he maybe saw one of those guys in college, not four of them. So something to look forward to in that Saints game. I believe are they coming to us or are we going to them? They're coming to us. So that's going to be a home game too. So that's it, gentlemen. Any last words?
Should we get our
predictions?
Thank you so much. I had a mental note that because we forgot it last week, Andrew.
Yeah.
Game predictions, Monday Night Football against the Cardinals. Brennan, you've been gone a couple weeks, so you get the honors, my friend. And by the way, I don't know if it's better to go first or go last, but you're getting to go first.
Awesome. So I actually was thinking about it in the back of my mind a little bit throughout the pod. I feel like as of recently, if you look back at the pods, the Chargers fans probably know, I've been running the opponent team a little too high on the points. I've been underestimating our defense. So with that being said, I'm going to say 27-10 Chargers.
I like it, and I would be absolutely thrilled if that is the outcome.
It's an optimistic, kind of far-fetched, but I feel like that's definitely reachable for us.
It's doable. It's doable. If both sides of the ball continue to head in their direction. Andrew, do you want to go next, or you want me to go next?
I'm happy to go next, and right. I think that you're right. Like that would, with what our defense is doing, that's certainly possible, and they could collapse. That would be great. I'm just thinking this is how I'm leaning. I'm going to say Chargers win 27-24. I think it's Monday Night Football. I think the lights are going to be bright for both teams, and I think it's as much as I'd like to see it collapse, I'm kind of leaning the other way. I think that there's going to be fireworks. They're going to have a little bit of success. They had a great draft. They got great skill players. I think they're going to make it tough for us, but I just believe that our side of the football is also going to continue to grow on the offense. I see us putting up 27, so 27-24 Chargers.
I like it. Yeah, and I put some thought into this one. This is going to be really funny. I'm going Chargers 27-17.
Oh, 27 across the board.
Yeah. I'm sitting there going, we can definitely put up 27 on these guys. The question is, what's our defense going to do? Are they going to beat our average, right? Our defense is allowing basically 13 points a game. Are they going to get a little bit above that, or are we going to hold them below that? So I gave them the benefit of the doubt that they're going to get a little bit extra against our D. It is Monday night. But, I think our boys can put up 27 on these guys in prime time. I think they can put up more. They're more than capable of putting up more. But I thought that was a realistic number. So,
sweet.
All right, guys. Well, I think I know where we will all be, which is watching this game in prime time. It'd be nice to see our guys hold up their end of the bargain in prime time, put on a nice little show for the rest of the league. You know, these are those games where nobody else is playing. Everybody's watching this game, so you're in prime time. You're on the big stage. Like to see our boys go out and put their best foot forward and play a really solid game, no matter how it goes. Play a really solid game and make a good showing of themselves. So, without further ado, man, let's wrap this up. That's it for another episode of ChargersCast. Appreciate you guys joining us, Andrew, Brennan, and for myself. Again, thanks for joining us for this episode. If you haven't already done it, please go down below, give us a like, give us comments. Love to get your comments. We try and reply to all of the comments. We don't get too many right now, so it's pretty easy on me. But love to get your comments, positive or negative. If you guys agree with us on stuff, please let us know. And if you disagree with us, which that's probably pretty easy to do too, let us know where you think maybe we're off. Love to hear what you have to say and reply to your comments. While you're there, please be sure to subscribe. That way you get notified when we drop a new pod, and also it lets us know that you guys are following us, which is kind of the whole reason we do this thing. Also, Andrew, Bolt Casa on Instagram, go follow him. Awesome content. You guys really appreciate it. Brennan, Chargers District, he's on Instagram, and he's in a few other places like X and stuff too. Go check him out. Also, some really good Chargers content. Go see these guys, go follow these guys, and then we're ChargersCast. Same place, Instagram, YouTube, the whole bit. That's it. We will see you guys next week after the Chargers game. Go Bolts. Bolt up.
Bolt up.
Bolt up.
Herbert stops, launches deep. Jalen Guyton, he's got it! Touchdown Chargers! What a throw! 4 seconds left in the game, but this is likely the final play that matters. End zone wide open. What a night for Mike Williams. And the Chargers have their first lead